always rub my hand like this. And people would be like, why do you do that every time you're high? And I said, because I made a promise, and one day I'm going to live up to that promise to be that man that God is going to send me. So that was the beginning of my faith walk. All those years in the middle, I made a promise that I would serve God, but I didn't. I remember walking to the altar and say, God, if you protect my son, if you keep him from harm, from anything evil, I'll serve you. 3 months later, my son's mom gets up, disappears with my son for a whole year. And at that point, there was a point where I hated God because Christians would come to me, que Dios te bendiga and God bless you. And I would hit him with the water hose, throw rocks at him. And God asked me, he goes, why are you angry at me? And I said, because you lied to me. And he says, no, you asked me to protect him from evil, from harm. You were that evil and you were that harm, my addiction. So that opened up my eyes a lot. The point where I changed my whole life was when my daughter called me and goes, Dad, aren't you a Christian? And what did we say? Have we been to church once? Oh, yeah, I'm a Christian. I said, yeah. So she started asking me questions. And in those questions, I got on the prophet Google. And I would ask, hey, Google, what's this? And I would answer my daughter every day for 6 months. We would talk about Jesus. I started going to church to be able to listen to the pastors preach, where I can go tell my daughter about God. One night she gets baptized. She says it's because her daddy led her to the Lord. I said, okay, well, I give God the credit. I'm a piece of dad. She texts me a week later because she was sick, and I didn't answer. I was in my addiction. The next morning, my ex-wife calls me and tells me that my daughter passed away that night. So after losing my daughter, I remember going back to homelessness for about 6 months and sitting at the side of a gas station. I remember crying out to God, says, I'm tired. If you're real, which I knew he was real, I said, if you're real, I give you full control of my life. Do with me what you want because I'm done with doing what I want to do. And that's the beginning of my walk. I've been sober now almost 11 years. So by the grace of God, never relapse. Give God the credit on that. And we've been working with food banks and everything else.